Somalis just took over Minneapolis. Technically, it's like they're taking over all of Minnesota. Specifically, Minneapolis has been in the line of sight for a lot of people in the past couple of weeks because of everything that has gone on there. And I want to just bring this to your attention in case you were not aware yet. So Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty, which is a weird name to me, made a video, which I'm not going to make you listen to because it's not really worth listening to liberals talk. But it says, let us be very clear, there are no roving Somali gangs terrorizing people. And then I would like to bring you, just so you guys can see, this roving Somali gang that is terrorizing people. This is not Minneapolis, though. Let me be 100% like upfront with y'all, because a lot of people are calling this Minneapolis. That is not Minneapolis, but you see that sign, Andy's Grill. You can see what's happening there. But this is not Minneapolis. Where this is happens to be, let's make sure I get this right. This is on in Falcon Heights in Minnesota, Falcon Heights. And if you look at their map, it tells you temporarily closed. Now, we could, make it seem all, oh my gosh, they've had to temporarily close because of the Somalis, but technically they closed for good in August, I believe, of 2024. They said that this Andy's Grill was in business for 17 years and the people were retiring. But you have to wonder, did it have anything to do with the roving Somali gangs? Because this is not the first video that we have seen. It will not be the last video that we see of these people that are just out there like a pack of wild dogs. Literally, they were flipping the benches. They are hitting each other, flipping benches, all kinds of stuff. And it's like, do you not have anything better to do than terrorize the people of Minnesota in general, no matter what county or city you happen to be in? Absolutely crazy. But what's even worse is that you have the attorney there, the Hennepin County attorney, going, no, it's not real. There's no such thing. Do they not understand that the internet exists and we can just go type in, hey, show me videos of Somalis terrorizing Minnesota, and a plethora of shit pops up, whether you want to look at it on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever the crap else is out there? There are plenty of videos to completely put this woman in her place and make her shut her mouth, because clearly she is incorrect. What's even crazier though, Tim Walz, I mean, that's that. But what's even crazier is this post from Ilhan Omar. And y'all, I am a nice person, generally speaking. I am a very nice person, but there are some people that I'm like, oh, you got a real punchable face. Ilhan Omar happens to be one of those, unfortunately for her. It's that shit-eating grin that she has when she talks. I don't do well with it personally. She posted a video of President Trump on her X account, okay? This is the video of President Trump speaking, talking about basically what a waste of space that she is, which I like that she reposted it so that everybody who goes to her X account can see exactly how the majority of us feel. But she commented, this is what he had to say. Let me give you this part first. This is what he had to say. He said, talking about Trump talking about Walz and Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar. He said, you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, they have nothing. They just run around killing each other. When I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, I always watch her. For years, I've watched her complain about our Constitution. All right. And what Ilhan Omar took from that was that Trump watches her, and her response, her post literally says, his obsession with me is creepy. I hope he gets the help he desperately needs. Well, ma'am, the help we all desperately need is to get your dumb ass out of our country. That's the help we all desperately need, because you are effing stuff up for the men and women who are legally in Minnesota. And it's a lot, right? But for her to say his obsession with me is creepy, don't be that person, Ilhan. Don't do it. Nobody is obsessed with you in a positive way. Trust me, 100% there. But the fact that she posted it, I was like, have some class. What are you, Jasmine Crockett now? So then on top of this, I need y'all to hear this. We've been talking about all of the fraud and all of the just money laundering that's been going on in Minnesota that obviously Tim Walz has to know about. You can't be the governor there for as long as he's been the governor there and not have any sort of idea about what's been going on, especially when whistleblowers have come forward. All kinds of things have happened. And Tim Walz has basically told them to shut up and sit down and keep their traps, closed and not say anything. It's giving, I know, but I don't care. And I'm going to keep doing it until they fully catch me. And then we'll just see what happens. That's what I get from him. Well, Ilhan Omar went on CNN and decided to open her big mouth. And she's saying that it's not Somali's fault for stealing, I'm sorry, the country in me came out, stealing millions of taxpayer dollars, okay? And I want you to hear this. This is all of 1 minute and 10 seconds, and I apologize ahead of time that you're gonna have to listen to her voice, but you need to know exactly what she had to say on CNN. Now, CNN in and of itself, generally, they are trash, right? But every once in a while, they bring somebody on and they ask them questions and have them, basically dig their own graves, which is exactly what I believe Ilhan Omar has done here. And I want you guys to listen to this. Listen.
First of all, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been investigated in these schemes so far. Americans at large stole tens of billions of forms of aid during the pandemic all over the country. Minnesota's fraud scandal stands out, according to federal auditors. What are you hearing from investigators right now?
Well, I've been following the cases closely as they've gone through the courts.
Because she's tied to
there
it.
are more indictments possibly coming. I think that number might go up to 73 is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Can you shed any light on why the fraud got so out of control?
This is the good part. Just wait.
I think what happened is that, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Now, obviously, whatever the
a lot of the guardrails did not get created. What she meant to say was a lot of the guardrails that would have kept the Somalis from being able to steal billions of dollars did not get set up, because that's what it is. It's not that, Bob Smith down the street or Judy whatever down the street has done this. It's somebody's name that I can't pronounce and who probably doesn't even speak English. They have done this. They have worked together to have this interwoven system of stealing from COVID money when it came to the meals for the children, and now with Medicaid when it comes to faking autism in their children. Although, you start inbreeding as much as they do, maybe there really is autism, but they're getting paid to pretend that there's autism within their very tight-knit, interwoven, probably highly related community. And that in and of itself is an issue that she refuses to acknowledge, and she just kind of glosses over everything that's going on. You can't just say, oh, well, billions of dollars were stolen over here because, COVID guardrails weren't in place. Well, if your people had morals or ethics, they wouldn't have stolen to begin with. But here we are. It gets better, though. Would you like to hear some more? So there's a Minneapolis city councilman. His name is Jamal Osman. You guys may have heard of him before. He's been around for a minute. And he thinks it's racist to mention the Somali community when talking about the fraud. I'm sorry, don't talk about the people that are committing the fraud because that's racist? Explain that to me. We can't just throw out the word racism anytime we don't want somebody saying something. It's not how it works, honey boo boo. It is not racist to call out the people that are doing the fraud, which sounds like the dumbest thing you could ever say or hear, but that's literally what it is. They are doing the fraud. Committing the fraud actually makes more sense. But either way, what he forgets is that he pushed to keep feeding our futures payments going, calling it racist to cut them off. Now, Feeding Our Future, that's the group that was supposed to be giving all these meals to the children in Minneapolis, and instead, said, screw them kids and, let them be hungry and put the money in their pockets instead of buying the meals that they were supposed to be buying. And he pushed to keep it going, to keep the payments to them going, because if you cut it off, then it was racist. So once again, we're pulling out race cards here anytime we want to make, white people feel like they can't have that conversation or that they're overstepping or whatever else. Bitch, I do not care. It is not racist. You are doing awful things. You just happen to not look like me while you're doing it. That's not a racist thing. That's called fact. Okay, so then his wife had a nonprofit because of course she did. Side note, you should look at this man. I'm not going to play his video because his voice doesn't really matter, but this is him. So Okay. So his wife had a nonprofit that had to be shut down in civil court for being a fraudulent shell company, and a dormant nonprofit they founded together was signed over to two individuals who immediately went on to commit $13 million in food fraud. And yet this man is sitting on the Minneapolis City Council. Again, Minneapolis, the fuck? Like, what are y'all doing? You are electing these people. You are watching them, literally watching them steal your damn money and then tell you that if you talk about it, you're racist. Don't say anything, shush, and you just let it happen. Minneapolis, I'm gonna need you to grow a pair and do what needs to be done to get your city back under control, because this is not it, honey. So then on top of that, okay, listen, I need you guys to hear this as well, because this is trifling. Okay, so Minnesota staff fraud reporting, what is this? Fraud reporting something or other. It's a page on X that has a ton of people, and it's basically the whistleblowers in Minnesota, right? So they posted this. They said, for public awareness, the attached message shows the pinnacle of quality leadership in Tim Walz's administration, okay? It says, when staff raise concerns about fraud, waste, abuse, our leadership responds like the below, which I'm about to read to y'all. Just wait, just it's good. It says, if surveillance by Tim Walz isn't enough, the U.S. military can also monitor whistleblowers, apparently. That's what it says, ... apparently. We've shared this email before, but it's worth revisiting how incompetent and hostile Tim Walz's leaders are. Now, before I read this to you, please know I'm going to sound some type of way, and it's not aimed at anybody in particular, except for whoever this person is. And I understand it's going to sound whatever, but I feel like if you're going to hold a position as high as the interim deputy assistant commissioner for operations in the Minnesota Department of Human Services, you should be able to string together a complete sentence correctly. Okay. I don't hold a position like that. If I want to F up a sentence all day long, I can. I don't hold this position. Okay. But here's what the email says, and I'm going to read it exactly how it says. Leaders, see below. This is an email that have been going around since I got here from week 2 and has not said anything nice about me. It can be tracked since it comes into DHS server. I have kept a record of all these emails. I completed a quick search a while back from when I was only 2 weeks here and was able to track the IP addresses for the email, but currently don't have the app to track specific location. I wanted to reach out to my colleagues that I did intelligence research with in the Army and give them the IP addresses and the email address to track the specific location, but was asked by upper leadership to hold off as they are doing their own thing on it. The email violates, like the color, the email violates respectful work environment and creates toxic work environment. It is not a professional way of confronting issues. Just sharing as FYI. Thank you. Very respectfully, Emmanuel Nwala, PhD. I'm going to guess that English is not your first language. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it kind of goes to show that Tim Walz is putting people into positions of, I guess we'll use the word power because he is an interim deputy assistant commissioner for operations, that probably don't need to be there. That's just, and I'm sure it sounds, let's throw the word out here, the hard R, racist, but it's not. I mean, my daughter is 16 and even she would look at this and go, what the hell? Like, you don't know how to like pluralize things. You don't know how to like full sentence here. What are we doing? This is like, and I'm not making it up. This is the letter. It's exactly how it sounds. But that's what happens. People bring up issues, maybe with this Emmanuel person. They send out stuff that's going on. And this person basically goes, I'm going to tattletale to the Army and have them track you down because you said not nice things about me since week 2 that I got here. Y'all, this bitch assness is getting to be too much. That's a dude, I have to assume, Emmanuel, right? That's a man. To have that low level of testosterone, I mean, obviously, probably been hanging around Tim Walz. There's not an ounce of testosterone in that man. But it's very concerning that you have so low testosterone that you would rather send out a company-wide email to cry about the fact that people you work with have sent emails talking about fraud and abuse and everything else, and you take it as they don't like me, so now I need to call my Army buddies. Okay, this is just funny though. Y'all ready for some funny? There's an account on X called the U.S. Ministry of Truth, which is just, I mean, it's not like a real kind of thing. It's a satire community. And it says the misinformation about Somalian immigrants is severely harmful. To combat this, we've prepared a list of the important contributions Somalians have made in America. And I want to show you guys because it's important we all understand the contributions that have been made. Think of Ilhan Omar and whoever else like her. Now, there's their contributions. So now that we're all aware there have been that many contributions, we can move on. Now, Tim Walz has done this new thing. Y'all, I am all for maternity leave and corporations taking care of their people. I think it's great that there's paternity leave, maternity leave, all kinds of stuff, sick pay, vacation pay, whatever else, right? It's great to have. It's very important for the workplace so that I guess the workplace can keep getting people to work there instead of staying home and taking care of the kids and stuff like that. And so that daycares can keep running and things like that. Listen, I understand that there's a lot of things that people have to do. I worked 3 jobs when my daughter was a baby because you do what you have to do to get to a position where you don't have to do that anymore, right? So I think a lot of us have done this, worked where we didn't want to work harder than we really want to work more than we want to work in situations we don't want to work in order to make sure our families have what they need to have. And I think that's great. Well, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, has come out with this new paid leave, okay? And he says paid leave is going to be a game changer for small business owners like Martha at Marty's Deli. So he shows a video of him, ordering a sandwich, and Martha, who's at the deli with her baby in her arms, he's saying it's going to make a big difference for her because they are now going to give people 20 weeks of paid leave. But it's not just 20 weeks of paid leave if you've had a baby. It's 20 weeks of paid leave for any fucking thing you want is basically what it comes down to. And this is where the issues are going to come in because it is going to get abused and used, and the fraud that is going to run rampant within this thing is absolutely ridiculous. But maybe that's exactly what Tim Walz is hoping for. Another way to pocket some money, because who's really keeping up with who's taking a day here, a day there, if it adds up to 20 weeks, if it goes a little bit past 20 weeks, whatever. But this is his thing, okay? I want you to hear a little bit of this. Let's pause. You're going to have to listen to Tim Walz's voice. I apologize ahead of time, but I want you to just have a little listen to this, okay? Listen.
And one of the things that has been missing in America is what happens if you have a child? How do you take time away and how do you bond with that child, which we know all the research shows how big a difference that makes? Or what happens if you've got a family member that's sick? My family's going through that right now with a mother-in-law. Or what happens if you yourself have an illness and have to be either through treatments or hospitalized? The choice in the past was lose your job or go broke or care for yourself. Or as we were just saying, if you're lucky enough to have family support and people who do that, it's not the way things should be done. And I continue to say this, United States is about one of 3 or 4 countries that doesn't have some type of program like this. Now we join the states that are going to implement a paid family medical leave program.
Okay, so here's what this comes down to, okay? Minnesota's new paid family and medical leave law, which allows up to 20 weeks of leave and paid benefits, will take effect starting January 1st, 2026. It's also why I keep telling you guys to call chapter for Medicare issues. January 1st, 2026. So much is changing literally everywhere when it comes to Medicaid, Medicare, regular ass insurance, all kinds of stuff's changing. If you happen to be on Medicare, you need to call and make sure your stuff is still good. 513-898-3528 is the phone number. I love you so much. Back to this. Okay. He says you can take paid leave to care for yourself during serious health conditions like surgery, injury, chronic conditions, whatever. And then family leave, it covers bonding with a child through birth, adoption, or foster placement, caring for a family member with serious health issues, supporting a family member called for active duty, or responding to a safety issue, including domestic abuse, sexual assault, or stalking for you or a family member. Like, we're getting real specific and a lot of weird things here, right? He says the law will provide up to 20 weeks of paid leave per year for eligible employees, including 12 weeks of personal medical leave and 12 weeks of family leave, both capped at 20 weeks total. Well, 12 and 12 is 24, which is, I'm just putting that out there, but he says capped at 20 weeks total. So whatever. But here's the thing. Who's footing this? You want is corporations going to pay it? Because guess what? They're never going to have any more full-time employees. If they have a full-time employee and they have to give them 20 weeks of paid time off, every single full-time employee is about to get axed. If it's part-timers, who gives part-timers 20 weeks off and pays them? That's unheard of. Okay, so if it's Minnesota, if it's coming out of their budget, that $8 billion that has somehow gone missing under Tim Walz, and now suddenly they're going to have plenty of money to pay everybody that wants to take 20 weeks off. What happens when in your company, everybody needs to take the same time off? 20 weeks straight. That's almost half a fucking year. You're telling me I could just get paid because I could go, mentally, I'm not really feeling it for the next 19 and a half weeks. So I need to go take care of that. Yeah, I might have a stalker. I don't know. There might be some stuff going on. You should probably give me 19 and a half weeks off, but don't forget to pay me. Here's my direct deposit. How do you prove any of this? That is my question. How do you prove what's happening here? This is about to bankrupt the shit out of Minnesota, more so than it already is. But this gives so much leeway for fraudulent activity. I will be one of the first ones to say, I appreciate the fact that Tim Walz is saying that he wants to do these things for the men and women of Minnesota to help them because, we as a country don't have enough maternity, paternity leave and things like that through the corporations, but that's through the corporations. If you try to make this like a law, it's going to, the clusterfuck that's going to come about because of this is just, it's going to be an interesting conversation to have, 20 weeks into 2026 going, ain't nobody working in Minnesota. All the corporations got rid of everybody. The state is bankrupt at week 20 because everybody took the first 20 weeks of 2026 off to just deal with life, whatever. It sounds decent, right? When you don't think of any of the repercussions. If you only look at the shiny, sparkly parts and don't look at all the rusted shit that holds it together, then it's perfectly fine. But the second you lift up the skirt and realize, honey, that ain't a taco, then there's an issue, right? So I think that this is going to be very interesting how this plays out for the people in Minnesota, because there's no way that this is going to be a great thing. On top of this, okay, because unfortunately, there's always more. I don't understand how there's always more, but somehow there is always more when it comes to Minnesota. So I have this video here from this news anchor. Her name is Jana, I don't know, Shortle, that clearly wants to be a man. She got the one earring in, not both of them, looking real Harry Potter-ish there, if Harry Potter had a vagina. But it says here, Minneapolis news anchor Jana, Shortle, looked to be on the verge of tears last night after Trump said he doesn't want Somalis in the U.S. And I want you to hear what she had to say. I heard it, so you have to hear it too. That's the game we're playing today. So take a listen to, I like how it starts off. She's like this, she looks like a little beaver. Look at that. Anyway, let's take a listen to what Jana, had to say.
The vast majority of Somali folks here are American citizens. They're people who fled war in their country as refugees to start a new life.
Brought over by Obama. Continue.
Once upon a time, that was a story America liked to tell about itself. Hell, it's emblazoned on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. To breathe free. Minnesotans by the thousands cannot tonight. Perhaps sitting in fear, even with legal status, and that their president called them garbage.
Oh,
we'll
remember when Joe Biden said that Americans were garbage? Y'all remember that? I remember that. He was the first president to say it. Trump just said it second, but heaven forbid they remember Joe Biden said it anyway. So this lady, she wants to bring in the Statue of Liberty because for some reason they all do, but it doesn't mean smuggle in your people who are going to come here to defraud the U.S. to send the money back to their terroristic country. That's not what the Statue of Liberty stands for. Breathe free. They're doing everything for free because they're stealing the shit out of your money and my money. Federal funding, Minnesota taxpayer money, all of it is going to these people. And even if they are illegal, here's the thing. A lot of them were here because of Obama let them in on some, what is it called? The Temporary Protective Services, TPS or whatever else. Well, Trump said, go ahead and cut that shit out. And then what happens? If they stay here, then they are fully breaking the law because they should be going back if they no longer have temporary protective status, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that works. But for this woman to sit on their news anchor and say these things, does she not realize that the other people in Minnesota and Minneapolis or whatever, Minneapolis is where she is, that the non-Somalians or Somalis who are having to deal with the aftermath of what the Somali community has done to their city, do you think that they're looking at Jana going, I'm glad you said that? Or do you think they're looking at her like, could you shut the fuck up maybe? Because who are you to sit here and feel bad for the people that are causing the strife within our city, within our state? Y'all, I know every state has its own issues, like Missouri. We'll get into Missouri tomorrow, y'all. Missouri. I feel so bad for y'all, and especially if y'all have kids. We'll get into that later, though. But this is crazy. This guy says that Minnesota, which he seems to be Somalian, maybe Somali, whatever. But we do have to remember, anybody can fake anything. So I take all these things with a grain of salt when I see some random dude posting up a TikTok video, because you just never know. But he says that Minnesota was promised to Somalians 3,000 years ago, and that the book of Genesis says that you must honor Somalians. That's not what it says at all. And Minnesota wasn't around 3,000 years ago. So that libtard math, that sure as shit ain't math. And anyway, but then this is another one. Minnesota man, because, everybody says Florida man. Well, now it's Minnesota man. I'm going to mess this up. Abdemahet Bill Mohammed, graped, minus the G, a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint and graped another woman he met on Snapchat. He struck a plea deal and served no jail time. He just graped another woman. Who could have possibly seen this coming? Here's the problem, okay? This is in, like I said, this is in Minneapolis here. Once again, that city just seems to be, well, it says Minneapolis, Minnesota. Sorry, I don't actually know what city he's in, so let me not. This is the man. Let me not give you false or wrong information, even if it was accidental. I don't know what city that is. But either way, took a plea deal and did not serve jail time. As a woman, I am sick as shit of these men getting let off on plea deals or probation or slap on the wrist after they have violated somebody. And not just somebody, a 15-year-old girl, and then another woman, and then now a third woman, because there was no repercussions for the first two. But you have to ask yourself, if he had been literally anything else besides Somali, would he be sitting in a jail cell? But now, because if you do anything wrong to a Somali man or woman, you're a racist. Is that why he got to run around just graping people left and right? It's a legit question to ask. Because the people of Minnesota, and by the people of Minnesota, I mean the law enforcement of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis and all these other places, they seem to not give a single flying fuck about the actual people that are legal citizens of the state of Minnesota who did not ask for this Somali takeover that Obama started back when he was in office. Woosah. We're going to woosah for just a second, because it's unfortunate how much is going on in just one state. But let's not forget, y'all want to talk about some icing on the cake, cherry on top, whatever you want to call it, or straw that broke the camel's back might actually be a better phrase. Please let me show you. Let me show you. I showed this to you guys before, and it feels like we need to have a look at this again, because this explains exactly who Governor Tim Walz is, who he cares about, who he is pandering to, who he is covering for, who he is making all these decisions for. And it is not anybody that is not Somali or Somalian or whatever the fuck you're supposed to say there. Listen and watch, because, okay, you ready?
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
Goodbye, good old Minnesota flag that's been around forever. Hello, Somali Jr.
There, that's better.
I'm sorry. The fuck? Better for who? Is that... I wish Ron DeSantis would. Florida would never. Would never. That is all. Tim Walz is a trash. And I feel very bad for the people of Minnesota who either did not vote for him and got stuck with him. But I also feel bad for the people of Minnesota who did vote for him, not knowing that this was the shithole they were going to end up with because of him. People make decisions and vote certain ways, not understanding that politicians lie, politicians can easily be bought, and people like Tim Walz have as much testosterone as a fucking Twinkie. A lot of people are probably right now wishing they had voted completely differently, but they will get a chance during the next election. Hopefully Minnesota rights its wrongs, because can you imagine more of Tim Walz, more of him letting the Somali takeover ruin the great state of Minnesota? Didn't it used to be the 10,000 lakes? Now it's the 80,000 refugees. That's what Minnesota is known for. The Somali takeover, the 80,000 refugees, the billions of money stolen, fraudulent Medicaid scams and food scams and whatever else. I'm sure Minnesota would like to take it back to the good old days of the 10,000 lakes. So, y'all, there's more, obviously. We can always do more. But I'm going to let y'all go for now because I've been running my mouth 31 minutes. I love y'all immensely. It is time for me to go do a little woosah, because talking about Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar and everything there makes my blood pressure rise just a little bit. So anyway, people, I love y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said before, if you happen to be on Medicare, 65, about to be 65, if you're over 65, please make a free phone call. Again, whether it's to the Medicare office, whether it's to your own personal broker. I prefer Chapter. That's just me based off of all of the positive, like highly positive reviews that you guys have given them, with the ability that they have to help you figure out if you need a new plan, have the best plan, could be saving money, have better options out there that might even cost you more, but it's going to get you everything you need. Like, there's so many things. They can see all the plans. So make sure you guys call them, because you've only got 4 days left before annual open enrollment is done. And I really do not want to see anybody getting screwed over on January 1st. I love y'all and I don't want to see it happen. 513-898-3528 is the number for Chapter. You can always look up Medicare or your own personal broker if you want, but please call somebody to make sure that you are still good to go January 1st, 2026. Okay, that is all. I love y'all. Goodbye.